The Steward demonic emperor. Xuanhuan was the demon emperor. One day, he managed to lay his hands on an ancient emperor's book, the 9 Serenities Secret Records. As the book was coveted by many, he was targeted by experts and was even betrayed by his student. After his passing, his soul took over another's body. Brought back to life, in the body of a family servant named Xuanhuan. Because of the regrets of the boy, which Xuanhuan inherited, he was forced to serve the boy's mistress. Just how can he lead this descending family to the pinnacle of this continent? Genre: Action Adventure Martial Arts Romance Xuanxia. Chapter 1, 9 Serenities Secret Records. On the highest platform on Devil Peak stood a black-garbed man with rapt attention. High above the clouds, the sun and moon hung side by side, flooding the land below in their warm glow and sharp coldness. The man took deep breaths as he spread his arms toward the sky, and the lights gathered in his palms. And the world dimmed. A foul wind stirred, wreathed with endless howls of agony from untold ghosts. The wind picked up the man's elegant hair, revealing a demonic face behind. The sun and the moon dimmed while the man grew in power from the rays. Soon, even dark energy began to rise from him. With his face battered by the freezing winds, the dark energy grew thicker until it covered him whole. He released a breath and an evil smile adorned his face. Rumble. With a loud sound as the trigger, the 4 mountains in the vicinity erupted while Devil Peak itself was racked by terrible tremors. The man absorbing the essences of the sun and moon opened his eyes. With a space-rending sound, 7 flashes of light appeared. As the light scattered, there stood 7 figures radiating ruthless power. His eyebrows shook but a fraction as the man spoke in an eerie voice. "How are the 7 of you here? Didn't you all despise us demonic cultivators to no end?" "Humphrey, demonic emperor, Xuanhuan, isn't it obvious why we're here?" An old man stroked his white beard as he gave a look of disdain. His heart skipped a beat and Xuanhuan sounded out, "Giza Sword Emperor, I do not know what you mean." "Humphrey, stop faking it and take out the 9 Serenities Secret Records." A female Taoist stepped arrogantly as she threw her chin forward. Xuanhuan paled. It had been only a month since he found the legendary 9 Serenities Emperor's dwelling. After brushing death countless times in the process, he finally obtained the written accounts he had wished to study for all his life. How was it that they caught wind of this? He suddenly recalled something and his face grew darker by the second. "Zhao Chen, come out," shouted Xuanhuan. A cheery voice rang through the empty forest on the mountain. Immediately, a handsome youngster in white robes walked from behind the 7, smiling all the while as he made a curt bow to Xuanhuan. "Ha ha ha, master, did you ask for me?" Xuanhuan glared with hatred at the hypocrite and said, "Is this your doing?" "Yes," nodded Zhao Chen with a smile. "Did you also cancel the guarding array?" "Yes." "Why? I never slighted you in the least." Xuanhuan clenched his fist as murderous intent flared out from his eyes. Despite being a demonic cultivator, he normally did not kill without reason. If he did, he was just acting out on his nature. Else, those righteous cultivators would have come to end him much sooner. Zhao Chen, for that matter, was an orphan that Xuanhuan took in when he saw his talent. Yet, who would have thought the day would come when Zhao Chen would betray him? Despite putting on a front with his calm demeanor, before Xuanhuan's increasing killing intent, Zhao Chen's feet betrayed him as he took 2 steps back, moving closer to the 7 beings behind him. "Master, I understand your kindness is as heavy as a mountain. But that doesn't give you the right to steal the 8th Emperor's seat and cast me in your shadow for all eternity. Even more so, regarding the 9 Serenities Secret Records. Ever since you've obtained it, you've trained alone, even afraid of me catching a glimpse of it." Xuanhuan's heart clenched when he heard this. Zhao Chen would never know he did it for his sake. Having low cultivation and going head first into studying the 9 Serenities Secret Records would deviate one's cultivation. He had opted to understand it in its entirety and only then impart it to him. Yet all his plans were ruined in just a short month. "Ha ha ha, well said. Zhao Chen, you're a true disciple. Xuanhuan's roaring laughter reached the heavens, and so did his rage. Since it is so, Master will give you a taste of the 9 Serenities secret records. Xuanhuan, it is not your place for such unbridled words in the presence of us 7. The white-bearded old man stepped before Xuanhuan. Humphrey, everyone in the sacred domain knows me as the 8th Emperor. I could care less even if all 7 of you emperors come at me together. No sooner said than done. Xuanhuan launched a palm at Xuanhuan. A black claw flashed in the sky, reaching out for him. His eyes shrank, face paled, and he retreated with haste, fear having taken its grip on a youth. In the face of that powerful claw, the old man drew a sword. A sword wave flashed and the black claw was turned to nothing. Humphrey, 9 Serenities secret records is nothing great. The old man stood in the wind with his sword ready to stain all over his face. Xuanhuan smiled and waved his palms. Geezer, stop being so arrogant. Boom. As if endless thunders were rumbling, the sky was covered by thousands of black palms, bearing down on the 7. Each palm was twice as big as the claw. Such power reached a new height that even the 7 were in shock. How can this be? Did he break through to the sacred stage? Sword Emperor sucked in a cold breath at the sight. As they watched, they could feel bravery leaving them. Not even 7 emperors together were a match against a sacred stage expert. Xuanhuan's face grew paler as regret gnawed his heart. Who would have thought that just a month of practice would elevate Xuanhuan to such heights in power? Humphrey, damn traitor, this is the end for you, sneered Xuanhuan. Whoosh! A light fell from the heavens above, piercing the black hands and went straight for Xuanhuan. With no time to react, the light passed right through him. Scarlet blood spurted from his mouth and the thousands of black hands vanished. Xuanhuan looked with his wan face at the sky to see a middle-aged man basked in a holy aura of light. Saint. Xuanhuan bit his lips in defiance. He knew in his heart the newcomer's intention. Demonic Emperor Xuanhuan, this saint represents the sacred domain in retrieving the Demon Emperor's legacy. If you hand it over, your life shall be spared. The surroundings and people entered his eyes, yet none of them were reflected within. He wouldn't even deign to look at Xuanhuan, if not for having the 9 Serenities secret records. This was the strongest saint in the sacred domain. Even Emperor stage experts were mere ants before him. With a miserable chuckle, Xuanhuan took out a dazzling multicolored jade slip from his bosom. The mere sight of it changed the expressions of everyone present, especially the saints. With a look of derision to all around him, Xuanhuan jeered, "What righteous cultivators! What saint! Aren't you all just thieves lusting after a poor man's wealth? I won't let any of you get one word from the 9 Serenities secret records, even if I have to destroy it." As if to prove his conviction, a powerful energy rose up from his body. Damn. He's gonna self-destruct. Sword Emperor's eyes shrank before speeding further away, with the others not far behind. Only the saint exploded in holy wrath and charged for Xuanhuan. Stop. With a proud smile, Xuanhuan pinched and the jade slip was turned to dust right under the saint's eyes. The rage and bitterness he saw in the saint as he gnashed his teeth elicited an unrestrained laughter from Xuanhuan. Boom. His laughter was soon accompanied by powerful shock waves leveling the entire Devil Peak. As the smoke and dust cleared, it was soon clear to see the angry face of the saint, along with his worse-for-wear clothes. Even in the face of such a terrifying explosion, a saint can come out of it without so much as a scratch. The Sword Emperor came before the saint to express his admiration. The saint snorted and was about to leave. It was then Xuanhuan blocked him. "Please wait, saint. Demonic Emperor Xuanhuan is cunning and deceitful. If he possesses someone, just from knowing the 9 Serenities secret records, he will one day come to exact vengeance upon us all." Humphrey, his self-destruction was down to his soul. What possession! He waved his sleeve and vanished. The hearts of everyone present eased after hearing this. With a saint present, an emperor stage expert would find it impossible to escape with their soul even if they self-destructed. It was a pity for the loss of the ancient demon emperor's legacy, the 9 Serenities secret records. As people gazed upon the ruins of Devil Peak, they each felt differently. Some were rejoicing, others lamenting, while most were feeling pity. Chapter 2, Demonic Emperor's Rebirth. In the dead of night, even the moon's radiance was snuffed out by the black clouds. Bodies lay in a pile in a quiet part of the forest, the aftermath of a gruesome battle. The air reeked of blood, drawing all kinds of wild animals to feast on their flesh. Ugh! Among the countless chomping sounds of animals, from amongst the bodies, a young man let out a groan. Ears twitched and the animals approached the source in silence. Thump! With a loud sound, 2 corpses were thrown to the side to reveal a blood-stained figure wrestling out from the pile. The animals jumped 2 steps back in fright, but when they noticed he was alive, they came back with a vengeance to rob life from him. Yet, the youth, hardly noticing the imminent danger, still sat there in a daze. Is this the current me? He checked his hands as his eyes glazed over. Awoo! A wolf's howl echoed as the beast sprung towards the youth. He turned his head, his eyes shining with bloodthirst from his blood-stained face. The killing intent was akin to 2 swords stabbing into the wolf's eyes. Whoosh! The wolf ground to a halt, shivering as it curled backwards. The rest of the animals were also making a run for it when they watched those demonic pair of eyes. Despite his weak appearance, the animals' instincts screamed at them of the danger the youth posed. As silence set in once again, the youth took a deep breath and closed his eyes. His name was Xuanhuan, 15 years of age, a servant of the Luo clan at Cloud Manor. His life was happy and carefree, until 3 days ago when a band of Blackwind Mountain bandits butchered the manor. He along with some guards escorted the young master and young miss as they fled, only to find his end in this forest at the hands of their pursuers. In his final breaths, he was filled with an obsession. It was this that drew the drifting demonic emperor Xuanhuan's resentment and allowed the demonic emperor to possess him. Xuanhuan's eyes flashed with demonic glee. Ha ha ha, Sword Emperor, Zhao Chen, you would have never imagined the 9 Serenities secret records has a way of possessing someone without the need of a soul. Wait for me, I will soon return to Sacred Domain and behead you myself. Only Xuanhuan's mad laughter echoed in the bleak forest. Even the other animals chewing on corpses were startled into fleeing. Cough. A sudden cough cut his raving laughter short as his eyes turned like a hawk towards the source. He helped me. Xuanhuan rushed to it to see a Luo clan's guard buried in bodies, with blood pouring from his mouth. Humphrey, the affairs of mortals have nothing to do with me. His eyes shrank and he shook his head as he was about to leave. The previous Xuanhuan would have done his best in helping the man. But he was now replaced by the demonic emperor Xuanhuan. To Yifan, the Luo clan were nothing but ants to him. Who was so bored as to save an ant's life? He took only 2 steps before stopping. Recalling something, he dropped down cross-legged to inspect his body. Not a moment passed and Xuanhuan flashed his eyes open with glee. This kid is 15 yet has never cultivated. His body is untainted. On the martial emperor continent, most could cultivate. Even farmers would have a first or second layer in the foundation establishment stage. It was rarer to find a 15-year-old who never cultivated once. And the strongest cultivation method, the 9 Serenities secret records, demon transformation art, which could use others' cultivation and later allow one to swallow the heavens and devour the earth, reaching the highest realm of power in this world, needed a pure body to train in it. This cultivation method was something the 9 Serenities Emperor comprehended only after he entered the Emperor stage. Just when he was contemplating destroying his cultivation and starting anew, he suffered at the hands of the other Emperor stage experts. In ancient times, the 9 Serenities Emperor was among the top 3 strongest emperors. For it to make even him consider restarting his cultivation, this cultivation method must be of tremendous might. Maybe it surpassed even a heaven-ranked cultivation method. As such, once Xuanhuan obtained it, he began to consider his next course of action. But before he could decide, the 7 emperors and Zhao Chen came and forced him on this path. With a pure body, the effect would be even more pronounced. At this point, Xuanhuan returned to the guard. He removed the corpses covering him and pulled him out of the rest. Empty eyes watched as he got pulled from the brink of death. The guard smiled. "Ah, it's you, Xuanhuan. Thank you, I'll repay you when we get back." He, why wait when you can just as well do it now?" With a corner of his mouth perked up, Xuanhuan exposed an odd smile. The guard froze as a chill seized his heart. As they were both from the Luo clan, this wasn't the first time he saw Xuanhuan. But this was his first time watching such a sinister expression. It was akin to how a wolf would set its sights on a rabbit. "Xuanhuan, what are you going to do?" The guard watched him with vigilance. Xuanhuan ignored him as he watched with the same smile, mumbling all the while, "Not bad, a second layer of qi condensation cultivation. Solid foundation material." While other cultivation methods absorbed the spiritual energy around them to refine the host's body, the demon transformation art robbed others of their cultivation to further his own. But how could a normal man steal from a cultivator? When the target was wounded, of course, to the point he couldn't even move. This was the reason for Xuanhuan's uncertainty to abolish his cultivation at the time. If such an encounter never happened, he would have been immortal for the rest of his life. It would end in a complete loss, something he believed caused even the Nine Serenities Emperor to hesitate at that time. Yet, here he was, with a newly possessed body that the heavens dropped in his lap. Truly something only found by luck. Seeing the insidious Xuanhuan watching him like a rogue watched a beauty, the guard's heart never knew rest as he shouted, "Why you're not Xuanhuan?" He, correct. The evil laughter further emphasized Xuanhuan's malevolent look. "I am the Sacred Domain's 8th Emperor, Demonic Emperor Xuanhuan." Chapter 3, Demon Transformation Art. The guard watched in horror as Xuanhuan raised a palm over his head and began operating his cultivation method. Black streams came from his palm, twisting like worms as they burrowed into the guard's body. The moment they entered, the guard's face changed. His horrified visage, twisted from pain, now darkened the face pale from the extreme blood loss. With each passing moment, the man inched closer to turning as black as charcoal. In the dark night, even if one paid attention, no one would claim him to be a human. This perked Xuanhuan up, riveted in excitement to the sight before him. Demon transformation art might take others' cultivation as his own, but when was it that easy to steal one's Yuan qi? Even if he did, it would probably reject him. He needed to show extreme caution, especially now when he was building his foundation. Therefore, Xuanhuan chose to first demonify it before absorbing it. Taking a deep breath to calm his excitement, his hand tightened and the black streams began to flow back from the guard into his body as the guard himself was withering in front of his naked eye. An hour later, Xuanhuan took back his hand and sat cross-legged, beginning to refine the new Yuan qi. The guard collapsed and scattered to ashes. It was as though an ancient corpse was unearthed only to scatter in the wind the moment they made contact. Nine Serenities Emperor's creation not only took others' cultivation but also their essence. The black energy roamed around his body like a flood. Xuanhuan sank into concentration as he operated the cultivation method to make the energy flow through his meridians, widening them little by little. The entire power of a qi condensation expert flowed through his untrained body. The force was on the verge of bursting his meridians as his forehead broke out in sweat. But he pushed through because he knew this power could build a never-before-seen foundation. Such a stable foundation would guarantee an easier and smoother path of cultivation. Time passed 1 second at a time for 2 hours long hours, as Xuanhuan gnashed his teeth and sweat poured from him like a river. He loosened his jaw only in the 6th hour, when the black energy, after roaming his body hundreds of times, gathered in his danshan and settled in the form of a black lake. He slowly opened his eyes and released a long breath. The clouds in the horizon began to brighten, and the stuffed wild animals returned to the depths of the forest. "It's dawn. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect a second layer qi condensation's cultivation would require an entire night." Xuanhuan shook his head and examined his body. Bang! A loud sound echoed and the rock crumbled under the frail Xuanhuan's punch. Xuanhuan nodded in satisfaction. The qi condensation expert's cultivation refined his body and improved it greatly. Based on his body strength alone, he was no weaker than a qi condensation expert. Next he inspected his cultivation. He was calm before, but that look scared the living daylight out of him. As for his cultivation, not only did it reach the 5th layer of foundation establishment, the yuan qi inside him was that of qi condensation, and not of foundation establishment. Man, this demon transformation art is fantastic. Xuanhuan couldn't help smacking his lips, being secretly delighted. Generally speaking, even those rare geniuses from the sacred domain needed a year to reach the 5th layer of foundation establishment. Yet, he needed one night to do what others had to work for 2-3 years to attain. It won't be long before I return to the sacred domain. He. Xuanhuan snickered. Just as he was indulging in his fantasy when he returned, shouts woke him up. Frowning, he walked cautiously in their direction. He was clear on his limitations. Even if he had a 5th layer foundation establishment cultivation, this little achievement couldn't deal with the simplest martial skill. He had no power to retaliate if he met an expert. As such, being prudent took first priority. After all, he wasn't the all-powerful demonic emperor right now. With steps as light as a cat, he neared a bush. Xuanhuan pushed aside the leaves to seat 2 parties in a stalemate. One had more than a dozen men, Luo clan's guards surrounding an 18-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy. The other group wore black and was led by an old man, over 20 people. The man was familiar to Xuanhuan. He recalled seeing him in the Luo clan as their steward. Then the pair surrounded by the guards had to be Luo clan's young master, Luo Yunhai, and young miss, Luo Yunqing. Humphrey, no wonder the mountain bandits breached the tight security of the Luo clan guards. We had a traitor amongst us. Xuanhuan sneered inside. He recalled his disciple and clenched his fists. In his past life, he was betrayed by his disciples, and the one he possessed now died from a similar result. He couldn't help relating a bit to the body he occupied. But he soon shook his head and sighed, ready to turn around and leave. With his strength, he had no way of helping them. Besides, there was nothing tying him to the Luo clan. It just wasn't worth throwing his life away for. Yet, he only took 2 steps before his heart seized with pain. The 3rd step never came. Chapter 4, Heart Demon. In fear, Xuanhuan tightened a hand over his chest. The pain was so excruciating, it brought him to his knees, mumbling, "What's going on? Did my cultivation deviate?" His heart swelled with panic. If he deviated right as he built his foundation, the result wasn't as simple as losing all progress. He would never again be capable of cultivation, he would become a cripple. But the pain left as soon as it came. Xuanhuan stood up and took a deep breath. He couldn't make heads or tails of it. Yet the next step brought with it the same heartache. No, this isn't deviation but heart demon. Thinking of this, he began to look for the source of the heart demon. If a cultivator ignored it, he wasn't far from deviating and becoming a demon. Xuanhuan soon found its source, but the result left him feeling discontent. Before being possessed, Xuanhuan was a devoted servant. Luo clan's young miss was very kind to him and so he pledged lifelong devotion to the clan. The resentment before death was born out of regret for not protecting the Luo clan. It was then that the demonic emperor's hatred and his resentment fused, possessing his soul and breathing life into his body. And his resentment became a contract with the demonic emperor, turning into his shackles. In short, the demonic emperor lived so he could replace him in protecting the Luo clan, or the heart demon would haunt him. Blasted. This punk is the worst. He wants me to be a servant. Xuanhuan wanted to cry but no tears came out as he kept cursing. How could the glorious and magnificent demonic emperor Xuanhuan, the 8th emperor of the sacred domain, be tied down by some nameless clan? Yet the heart demon couldn't be ignored either. Helpless, he caressed his forehead. It would be better if a punk like you wished for vengeance instead. This way, it would have taken me a few years to kill him. Yet, you went and ruined my life. Who's there? Show yourself. An aged voice shouted, and Xuanhuan sensed a thick killing intent aimed at his location. Shaking his head, he sighed and walked out. Since he got found out, he might as well go deal with that traitorous steward's son. Seeing who it was, steward's son smiled with derision. Humphrey, I wondered who it could be, when in fact it was just a little bastard. Then steward's son turned to Liu Yunqing, paying him no heed. Young miss, I advise you to hand over the returning dragon palm martial art to avoid any unnecessary casualties. I don't think you want that either. Rubbish, geezer-son, you traitor. As long as we're here, you won't harm a single hair on young miss and young master. The Liu clan's guard captain took a step forward. Liu Yunqing glared back. Her pretty face filled with resolve. Steward's son, returning dragon palm is a spirit-ranked martial art handed down in the Liu clan for generations. We will never hand it over. Xuanhuan snorted inside. He was wondering why the mountain bandits raided the Liu clan. It was all for a mere spirit-ranked martial art. On the Martial Emperor continent, all cultivation methods and martial arts were divided into 5 ranks: mortal, spirit, profound, earth and heaven. Each in turn was split in low, mid and high. In sacred domain, spirit-ranked martial arts were at every corner and mere trash in the eyes of a demonic emperor such as himself. He had thousands of them already. It was a total waste to die for such junk. Xuanhuan sighed and shouted in a bored tone, young miss, it's just a spirit-ranked martial art. Just give it to him and I'll just give you another. All eyes quivered in shock, then looked at him like a nutcase. Xuanhuan, quite the cheeky tone you have there. Taking out a random spirit-ranked martial art. On what grounds can a 15-year-old Liu clan servant do that? Ha ha ha. Steward's son threw his head back and laughed, eyes filled with mockery. Even the bandits followed with their taunting laughter, not hiding their ridicule. While the guards looked at him in doubt, even his former friends who were familiar with him looked at him oddly. This kid is usually honest. Why does he speak nonsense all of a sudden? Did the mountain bandits scare him silly? That must be it. With that, all the guards changed their looks into those of sympathy. Xuanhuan saw through them and just shrugged. His repertoire wasn't limited to spirit-ranked martial art, and even included Demon Emperor's ancient art, and the 9 Serenities secret records. But they'd never believe him. Xuanhuan, enough nonsense. Hurry up and look after the young master. Xuanhuan turned at the scolding voice to find Liu Yunqing in a mask of rage. But her eyes conveyed a trace of pity. Chapter 5, Obnoxious Servant. Perking up into a grin, Xuanhuan picked up on her intent. The young miss had to be thinking he was insane, yet she still did not want him to die. As they were speaking, she was looking for a chance to hide him behind the guards. What are you waiting for? Get him over here before he humiliates us further, Liu Yunqing shouted at the guards. Before anyone even moved, a bloody blade rested on Xuanhuan's neck. Wait. Steward's son snickered, his eyes piercing through Liu Yunqing's as he had figured out her plan. He, young miss is as kind as ever, wanting to save even a mentally unstable servant. Liu Yunqing raged, Steward's son, you won't let even the demented live? Ha ha ha, right back at you. If you don't want the innocent to die, take out the returning dragon palm. We don't care if our blades get slick with the blood of one more man. With that, the bandit brushed the edge along Xuanhuan's face and sported a bloodthirsty grin. Liu Yunqing pursed her lips, hesitation visible in her eyes, yet still decided to close them. Xuanhuan understood. Although the young miss had no plan to save him by taking the martial art out, as his mistress, it filled him with gratitude just from hesitating. But in the end, it would come down to him if he could save himself. Taking a look back at the bandit, he found a fat man of the same height who was at 7th layer of Foundation establishment. It should be doable. Xuanhuan clenched his fists and gathered Yuan Qi in his left, eyes flashing with ruthlessness. Humphrey, since you're so stubborn, Xuanhuan will be the first to die because of you. Steward's son's hand dropped, staring at Liu Yunqing's pain-filled eyes. Fatty, kill him. Fatty grinned, and raised the blade way up high. It was then that a thump echoed out, soon followed by bone snapping along with the fat man's wails. His blade had long ago slipped from his hand. Xuanhuan picked it up and decapitated the man. Blood spurted and a large head sailed in the air. Xuanhuan was only in the 5th layer of Foundation establishment, yet his yuan qi was something only a qi condensation expert would possess. In a moment of the fat man's ignorance, he elbowed his chest and snapped his ribcage. He followed with a swing of the sword in one smooth motion. None could even react as the fat man's head flew from his shoulders. Plop! The bloody head rolled around and stopped right before Steward Sunday. He looked dumbly at the familiar face, incredulous of the outcome. He saw Xuanhuan grow up in the Luo clan and knew the kind of person he was. He was honest to a fault, a slave begging to be picked on. Yet this sheep bared its fangs like a tiger, killing a 7th layer Foundation establishment expert in one strike. It was done with such brutality that it even shook the bandits. The guards on Luo clan's side were even more devastated. Was he the same man they used to laugh with, the same honest-to-God Xuanhuan? Leaving the kill aside, his quick and brutal act was something not even the captain of the guards could match. Every single one of them stood in shock, watching dumbly as blood dripped down Xuanhuan's blade, to the point they forgot even to breathe. If Xuanhuan didn't take this chance to leave, he'd never get another. Xuanhuan's eyes squinted, pressed his advantage and threw the bloody sabre at Steward's son, all the while running for the young miss and young master. By the time the sabre arrived, he was already before Luo Yanqing. One hand held Luo Yanhai while the other grabbed the young miss, running like hell deeper into the forest. Luo Yanqing was still in a daze, letting him pull her. Steward's son saw the target slipping away again and panicked, after them. But the captain and his guards were there to block them. "Humphrey, think you can stop us?" Steward's son said with cruelty. The captain smiled and shook his head, "No, but we can buy them some time for them to get away." He, with you dead, you still think they can escape?" Taking one last look in their direction, the captain nodded. "If it was before, perhaps number. But they have that boy." The guards nodded, with their trust in Xuanhuan beginning to grow in their hearts. They might not know why Xuanhuan was so bold all of a sudden, but with him next to the young miss and young master, their chances of survival were higher. Gnashing his teeth, Steward's son looked darkly beyond them. "That brat dares to meddle in my affairs. Once I get my hands on him, I will flay him. I'll make him wish for death."